A man sits at the bar, deep in thought, replaying an odd conversation in his mind. He recalls a guy instructing someone to find a random woman, take an intimate picture, and send it. Then the same guy warned against talking about inheriting the business, saying he was about to be kicked out by his grandfather, only to quickly correct himself, calling him the chairman. After that, he wondered aloud what else could be done, calling someone the minister guy. The man at the bar shakes his head, puzzled, questioning why this moment keeps nagging at him. Nearby, another man seems to be looking for someone. A woman turns and notices the man at the bar, her eyes lingering. He wonders if she's staring at him. She studies his face, trying to place him. He looks familiar, she thinks. Have I seen him somewhere before? Then an idea hits her. Could he be Windmill, the guy from her one-night stand? Gathering her nerve, she approaches him and shows him a text on her phone. He frowns, confused, and asks if she's implying a one-night stand. She stammers, says no, then backtracks, unsure if that's the right answer. Before he can respond, she blurts out that someone told her he's the youngest and most handsome man in the room. That throws him off. He starts to wonder if she's talking about Windmill, recalling a scene where someone accused Windmill of gossiping about private lives and warned him that his excitement buddy would be stolen by someone else. Windmill had brushed it off, vowing not to let anyone take his woman and promising to find someone for the night. The memory leaves the man amused and slightly annoyed. Back in the moment, the woman suddenly apologizes, saying she has the wrong guy. As she turns to leave, he grabs her hand, smirking as he tells her she's not entirely wrong. He is, in fact, the youngest and most handsome man there. Later, they're in a hotel room. She looks around, clearly impressed, and says it's a nice place. She jokes that it's cheaper than she expected and marvels at the beautiful view. While rummaging through a container, she comments on how many protective items are stocked there, sniffs one, and laughs about how fancy everything smells. He tells her he's going to shower, and she waves him off with a casual, "Okay." In the bathroom, he leans on the sink, staring at his reflection. What am I doing? He wonders. He brought her here to keep her safe from troublemakers, but now he's questioning his intentions. He can't believe he's really about to follow through with this. Her face flashes in his mind, and he's startled to realize his body is already responding to the situation. When he returns, he gently runs his fingers through her hair. She stops him and says she doesn't want to kiss because it's just for one night. He nods, accepting her boundary, and they share an intimate moment anyway, the tension in the air pulling them together. He wakes up to find the room empty. His eyes land on an envelope on the side table, and he wonders if she left her contact information. With a smirk, he opens it, only to find money inside. He blinks, then chuckles, noting that it's nice to know he wasn't bad, but quickly questions what this means. Is she seriously paying him? He laughs softly, thinking that while it's okay to assume he's that guy, he was the one who took care of her. Why would she leave him a reward? Shaking his head, he decides he needs to find her and explain who he really is. He mutters about how much the woman snatcher from last night talks and wonders how he's supposed to track her down. As he thinks, a memory nags at him. She looks familiar. He's sure he's seen her somewhere before, but the details are just out of reach. Meanwhile, she's lying in bed, clutching a pillow, replaying the night in her head. She squeezes the pillow tighter, thinking it felt like a dream, an incredibly vivid and overwhelming one. Her phone buzzes, snapping her out of her thoughts. She groans, wondering who could be messaging her so early. Opening the notification, she sees it's from Windmill. The message starts innocently enough. He mentions he thinks it's her first time using a dating app and says he wants to meet her for something intimate. But the tone shifts in the next text. He accuses her of betrayal, demands to know how she could use him, and ends by saying she's been blacklisted and can't contact him anymore. Her jaw drops as she reads it. "No," she exclaims, shaking her head. She wonders why he would say such things. They had shared moments so intense that she'd felt like she was losing herself. Why would he act so cheap now when he seemed so polite before? She questions if they're even the same person. As she scrolls, a photo catches her eye, and she freezes. She squints at the picture of Windmill and tries to compare him to the man from last night. That's when she notices something. Windmill has a tattoo on his wrist. The guy from last night didn't. No way, she mutters, imagining last night's guy saying, I'm not Windmill. I'm Seo Do-hyun. Her eyes widen as the realization hits her. If he isn't Windmill, then who is he? She sits up, the question lingering in her mind. Minister Seo asks if she's Lee's sister. She hesitates, wondering how he figured it out. He tells her to hold him, and she responds with a polite, well then, thank you for the trouble. He stays silent for a moment before saying something that makes her tense. She wonders if he recognized her voice or realized who she was. But then he calmly informs her that her brother is throwing up. She spins around in panic, yelling her brother's name and running to stop him. No vomiting, she shouts as she slams the door shut. Behind her, Minister Seo chuckles and says, that'll do it. Keep up the good work. As she sinks to the floor, she reassures herself that he didn't recognize her. But then she second-guesses. Did he? No, he couldn't have. Later, during a video call, their mom comments that her brother looks exhausted. She talks about how much he's been working and socializing and adds that he probably drank too much after work. Her brother mutters, Mom, trying to explain something about Minister Seo, but their mom cuts him off, saying she understands and that their father once said the same thing. Then she reveals that his sister told her he looked miserable and asked her to call him. Before ending the call, she advises him to relax, unwind, and have another good drink. He glares at her, annoyed, and snaps, Are you going to tell on me again? She smirks, replying, Who told you to drink until you black out? As she walks away, she thinks about the hangover, the scolding, and how no one will hold back from teasing her for a while. Still, as long as no one finds out what she did, she figures she'll survive. A few weeks earlier, someone had asked her if she was sure she didn't want to fall in love. She had told Lee Jia-jun that she was too busy, only for Jia-jun to scold her, calling her annoying and questioning if she was going to waste her college years just working and gaining experience. She argued that it wasn't a waste, insisting her life felt fulfilling. Jia-jun reminded her that she once claimed she'd find a better job than her brother's, and suggested she put that same energy into finding love. When asked again if she truly didn't want to date, she replied that work kept her too busy. Jia-jun teased that even getting a job wouldn't make her less busy, and she admitted that work only made her feel busier. That made Jia-jun scream dramatically, At this rate, you're going to be unalive. She hushed Jia-jun, but Jia-jun continued, saying this wasn't healthy and suggesting she meet a nice guy. Rolling her eyes, she asked if that was the point of the conversation. Jia-jun explained that her boyfriend had a friend in physical education who was handsome, strong, and had a great personality. She sarcastically replied, Boo-hoo. Jia-jun mentioned that her boyfriend's friend had a crush on her, explaining that he had seen her last year at a club event and had even helped her with something. She vaguely remembered a handsome man from that day, but couldn't place his face. Jia-jun insisted it was him, but she brushed it off, standing up and declaring that she wasn't interested in a relationship right now. Jia-jun called it a pity, and then casually brought up recent apps that pair people for one-night stands, highlighting how safe and clean they were, even checking for STDs. She hesitated, unsure if she could ever do something that bold, but the thought lingered in her mind. The FL wonders about love and intimacy, curious why everyone seems so eager for it. While eating, her brother interrupts her thoughts, asking if she's paying attention. She assures him she is, and he starts complaining about work, calling it a monotonous loop of office and home. He vents about his plan being criticized and shares that he's buying drinks for his colleagues to smooth things over, even if it doesn't guarantee success. She hums, thinking of the one-night stand app, and mutters it might not be bad. Her brother asks if she means Minister Seo's drinking, and she quickly says he's a good drinker. Her brother agrees, adding that the man is exhausting. Later, she downloads the app and gets paired quickly with a guy named Windmill, who has a tattooed wrist in his profile picture. He mentions the STD test for safety and asks if it's really her first time. She confirms, asking if he's stressed, but he says he's just curious. She insists on a hotel, and he suggests splitting the cost, adding that hotels are expensive. She thanks him and asks about his looks. He sends a faceless photo, and she decides he's attractive. They agree to meet at the Bike J Hotel bar at 9 p.m. on Friday. As she gets ready, her friend Jiejun teases her, amazed she's actually doing it. The FL points out that Jiejun encouraged her. Jiejun notices her outfit and asks why she's dressed to look older. The FL admits she lied about her age, saying she's 28. Jiejun is shocked and screams that it's a 5-year difference. The FL shrugs, explaining she didn't want to be underestimated since he's 27. As they share a drink, her friend tells her it might actually feel easier to experience this for the first time at her age, then teases her by asking what she'll do if she wants to meet him again. She quickly dismisses the idea, saying it's a one-night stand, nothing more. Her friend questions if she's really going to finish the drink, and she says she can't go sober. Before she leaves, her friend asks if she knows the Baekja Hotel in case she can't be reached, and she nods. They clasp hands tightly as her friend wishes her luck, tells her to stay safe, and asks for the guy's face and room number when she arrives. On her way out, she hopes the man is as strong as he looks. Later, she admits the experience was amazing, but it turns out the guy she was with wasn't Windmill. It was Minister Seo Do-hyun, her brother's boss. She'd met him by chance when he was helping her drunk brother home. The next day, she was stunned to see him again. Elsewhere, 3 employees are talking. One mentions hearing that one of the newly appointed team leaders is the president's grandson. Another questions if it's Minister Seo Do-hyun, adding that the surname Shu doesn't seem like his real name. Someone suggests the minister position is temporary, and another agrees, comparing it to a smoke and mirrors tactic, speculating that Minister Cha Sun-woo of the new ministry might be a stronger candidate. The conversation is cut short when someone interrupts, saying, "No small talk at work." He jokes that their paychecks won't increase even if they uncover the president's grandchild, so they should save the coffee breaks for later and focus on work. It's Minister Cha Sun-woo and Minister Seo Do-hyun stepping in, cutting the chatter short. The employees scramble. One mentions needing to sign a consent form, another hasn't replied to the vendor yet, and the third admits he's still working on his PowerPoint. Seo Do-hyun is the grandson of Chairman Shu, the head of a major domestic corporation. After graduating college, he successfully acquired and revitalized a failing portal site, turning it into a future-proof business. When offered the successor position at Seo Electronics, he outlined 3 conditions in a formal proposal. No one within the group should know he is the chairman's grandson. He must prove his capabilities through his work. And finally, he must be prepared to marry. A solution to satisfy all conditions. Minister Cha Sun brushes it off as straightforward, but Seo Do-hyun grumbles, saying the chairman's expectations are overwhelming. He calls it greedy, jokingly adding that greed makes people sick. Minister Cha laughs, teasing that Seo seems to have had a pretty eventful weekend. He mentions that Seo always books a private room to drink alone, but notes that someone's been raiding the stash of protection he leaves behind. Seo cuts him off, telling him to stop digging. Though he can't help but recall Gae rummaging through the items and decides it's okay since she seemed decent enough. Agent Lee walks in and immediately gets to the point, handing Seo a document to sign. After returning it, Lee casually asks if Seo plans to drink again tonight. Seo raises an eyebrow, wondering why Lee assumes he drinks daily, but Lee retorts, half joking that Seo's poor performance at work mirrors his drinking skills. Internally, Seo notes that the minister is nitpicking again. Out loud, he tells Lee they can head out together, slapping hands in agreement as they prepare to leave. Seo privately resolves that tonight, he'll confirm the identity of the mysterious voice haunting his thoughts. By Friday evening, Minister Seo is at the door, while Lee is sprawled out on the floor. Gae rolls her eyes, noting how often Seo shows up at their place. Her brother starts slurring nonsense, drunkenly noticing her face mask and accusing her of making herself uglier. As he tries to remove it, it falls to the floor. Gae panics internally, but her brother picks it up and insists he needs a face mask too, loudly declaring that he wants to look beautiful. She grits her teeth and mutters insults in her mind, shoving him toward his room while he whines incoherently about alcohol. Minister Seo stands at the door, watching the scene unfold. while Ga-e hopes he doesn't notice. She had put on a lot of makeup earlier, but now, with glasses on, she's feeling a bit less prepared for the encounter. Her brother, lying on the floor, casually mentions that she looks more beautiful. He asks what he should do, but she tells him not to be ridiculous and urges him to go inside. She thanks Minister Seo for taking her brother home and tells him to take care. Before he leaves, she quietly asks him to go slowly and that they shouldn't see each other again, but he stops her, holding the door, and she feels a chill of fear. He calls her name, asking why she pretends not to know him. He points out that she's been calling his name all night. She insists she doesn't know him, but he reminds her of their encounter last Friday at the Baekje Hotel. He asks if she's really Lee Ga-e and says his pride is hurt because she left behind a significant tip in the bed. Confused, she asks what he means, clarifying that she only paid for the room. She quickly tells him to forget it and insists that he shouldn't tell her brother. She tells him it was just a fleeting fun night. He questions if it was just for fun, noting that the way she performed seemed like quite the entertainment. She fires back, wondering how he can be so crude, insisting she's forgotten everything about that night. Meanwhile, her brother stirs, muttering her name, and she quickly presses her foot to his ear, telling him to be quiet. She whispers to Minister Seo, asking him to keep quiet in case her brother wakes up. He licks her hand and holds it, teasing that this moment should remind her of how hot things got the other night. She stares at him, but he simply says he'll see her later and closes the door. She sits down, stunned, thinking about how hard it will be to forget him. She sighs, realizing she's failed. Life is unpredictable. E never expected that her one-night stand, someone she carefully chose through an app, would turn out to be a complete rascal. She wonders how she could have spent such an intense night with someone she didn't know, especially when that someone is now revealed to be her brother's boss at his company. She can't help but think about whether her brother will ever find out about this. At the dinner table, she asks if the pizza is good, and her brother agrees. She then asks if the pasta is any good, but he says it's just average. She immediately changes her tune, dismissing it as ordinary and threatening to throw it away. He's confused and tells her she's acting strange, giving him goosebumps. She stands up, wondering if she offended him. He asks if she slapped him when he was drunk last night, since he feels pain under his cheek. She denies it, but he shrugs and says, "All right then," before bringing up another topic. He asks her about something, and she responds by yelling, "What?" He casually mentions Nike Air Max, noting he saw the bill for 200,000 won. She silently thanks him for being a person with questionable judgment. She tells him that she's right, and wonders if she should send him the link for those shoes. He laughs and calls her crazy, saying he's not making money by digging, and his savings are barely enough to buy a few chickens. She tells him to stop drinking with his boss if that's the case. He asks if she's close with their team leader and if she calls him by name. She replies that it's because of all the cursing, which makes the name stick in her head. She adds that she's just concerned about his health. He laughs nervously, calling her creepy for being so cute, then jokes that they must be close since they often drink together. He says it's not because the boss said anything wrong, it's just that he's a jerk. She can't seem to escape this situation, feeling trapped in a strange way. Holding him in place, she asks if he's lost his mind and whether he's trying to drink himself into alcohol poisoning. She reminds him that she told him not to drink too much. He moans in pain, pleading for her to stop, and starts mumbling something about the minister's puppy. He says he feels guilty, and that's why he's drinking with him. She wonders about the puppy, questioning if he likes dogs, and thinks this feels like some sort of punishment for their one-night stand. Just as he's about to throw up, she shouts for him to hold it in and tells him to swallow it. He, however, grabs the minister's shirt and throws up on him. She screams, frustrated, asking why it had to happen like this, then quickly tells him to wait a moment while she goes to get her brother's clothes. He asks where the bathroom is, and she, half amused, asks if he wants to take a shower. She wonders why it's taking him so long, and just as she's about to question it, the door opens. Seeing him standing there, she can't help but exclaim, "Whoa!" She quickly closes her eyes and hands him her brother's clothes. He asks if she wants him to wear them and leave, then says he doesn't want to if he has to go. She tells him his family is probably waiting and that he should leave since it's the weekend. He replies that he lives alone, so he doesn't need to go anywhere. He sits down and she turns her face away as she hands him the clothes. She tells him to put them on first, but he says she's worrying too much and that he feels comfortable like this, as if it's his own home. She asks why he thinks of it as his home, and he wonders aloud if this is her room, suggesting they look around. She stops him, explaining that her room is a mess, so much so that she barely sleeps in it. He tells her it's not good, and she asks what he means. He says that if it weren't for her, he wouldn't have invited manager Lee out to drink and taken him home. He asks if she's really forgotten, and she responds that she didn't drink that much, but she isn't foolish enough to forget who she slept with. He admits she has a point, but still asks if she hasn't forgotten. She asks what he wants from her, and he replies that it seems like she wants more, pointing out that her eyes can't seem to look away from his body. She denies it and pushes him away, insisting that she didn't do anything. He asks if they should check, and she wonders what they are checking. He grabs her hand and asks if she can feel it. He tells her that all he wants is some satisfaction. She questions how he can say that, and he asks if she's sure she isn't in the mood. She responds that as a beginner it feels like a difficult task. He asks what she means by beginner, and she questions if he only prefers experienced partners. He recalls the other night and feels guilty, realizing that's why it seemed so hard. He apologizes, unsure why she kept the money to pay him back. She admits it's difficult, but despite the harsh words, his touch feels gentle. She also notes in her mind that his face isn't bad, and it didn't feel painful. He suggests that if that's the case, they should do it a few more times, claiming it's hard to find someone with his level of compatibility. She tells him to hold on a second as he leans in. She warns him to be quiet because her brother might hear. He insists her brother won't wake up because he's more out of it than usual. She jokes that she'd be in serious trouble if her brother found out, but he replies that even if he did, he wouldn't remember because of his blackout, then wonders if she can picture them both in that situation. He asks if she agrees, and she reluctantly says yes, just 3 times. He agrees and promises that after it's done, he'll leave without a second thought, so she shouldn't worry. She tells him not to speak normally, and he wonders why she didn't say that earlier. She adds no kissing, and he responds that it's too much, asking if she wants to ruin his mood. In the room, she recalls what her friend had said earlier, and after that they get closer. At the siblings' home, she suddenly gets up, and her brother calls out to her, complaining that there's a disgusting smell. He asks what happened last night, and she tells him he'd want to disappear right away if he knew. He asks if it's that bad. A few minutes later, he exclaims, "Oh my God," realizing what happened, and screams no. She notes that she told him to swallow it, and he wonders how he's supposed to face the minister on Monday. She snaps at him, saying she needs to study, so he shouldn't sit on the sofa or use the bathroom, and he needs to stay in his room. She wonders what she's supposed to do next, then reads a message from her friend saying the writer can't say hello this afternoon because of a schedule, but should be called later. She admits she's really starting to worry and that her friend was right. Since that day, she can't stop thinking about Minister Seo. She wonders if that's his real name and what she should do now, since she wants to hear his voice. She also wonders what he's doing, noting how handsome and good he was. She wonders if he has a girlfriend or is married. If she had known this would happen, she would have introduced herself or at least given him her phone number. She questions if she should have gone back to the hotel. Her regrets keep piling up. He thinks back to the moment they shared and how vivid it still feels when he closes his eyes. Then, unexpectedly, they meet again. He remembers their first encounter, realizing that he could have avoided it if he wanted to, but he doesn't think he would have wanted to miss that chance. She wonders if he will come again today, secretly wishing she could wait up late at night for Minister Seo to ring her doorbell again. At the same time, she doesn't want to embarrass her brother, who has worked so hard to join Seo Electronics. When she hears the bell ring, she feels a rush of happiness. She just wants to meet him one more time. She thinks it's time to admit it. She's in love with Minister Seo. Gi wonders about her job application, realizing she's applying mainly for better pay and less stress. Plus, the cafeteria is amazing. She's even willing to be a company slave for it. She tells herself this way, she'll definitely get hired, but then remembers the application is a mess. How could they even pick talented workers with this method? Kim looks at her and tells her to stop beating around the bush and just admit she can't write her own CV. Ga-ee disagrees and says she's just trying to concentrate. Her friend teases her even more, making Ga-ee frustrated. She slams the table and says she's just looking for a job, not love, then adds that she decided to sleep with him 3 times and there are only 2 times left. Her friend argues that she knows Ga-ee too well and that she won't set a deadline. She asks if the guy is a meek cat and tells her she should at least go on a date with him, since he clearly has an interest. Ga-ee asks if she still has his number and glances at the paper where he wrote he couldn't be with her because he's busy and suggested she should call him. She considers contacting him but feels conflicted. She doesn't want to fall for him. Her friend asks how it's possible for him to be in his late 20s and early 30s at the same time, but says as long as Ga-ee isn't planning on marrying him, it's okay. Ga-ee wonders how she even ended up around her brother's boss, even by accident. Her friend urges her to call him soon, or he'll think she's not interested. Ga-ee mentions that it's possible she's not the only one he gave his number to, but her friend doesn't care. Minister Seo sits in his office, feeling strangely hurt. He wonders if Ga-ee is going to reject him. He's never experienced this kind of feeling before. Assistant Manager Lee enters and asks if everything is okay. Minister Seo replies that there's nothing to worry about, just not feeling well. Lee reminds him about last weekend and mentions the clothes Minister Seo left behind, which his sister saw. Lee promises to bring them back. Minister Seo calls his sister, asking if she did anything wrong. She assures him she didn't, and she'll return the clothes later, explaining she just wore them by mistake. Lee asks if Minister Seo is okay since he looks pale. He feels his forehead, suggesting he might have a fever or caught something from Lee last weekend. As Lee leaves, he advises Minister Seo to get checked, as the flu is going around. Minister Seo wonders where he could have caught the flu. The next day, he visits the doctor. The doctor tells him his fever is high, but notes he looks perfectly fine, which surprises him. He frowns, wondering if it's really the flu or if he's falling in love, which he didn't expect at all. At home, Ga-ee looks out the window as it rains. Her brother walks in and asks if she's heard that the minister isn't drinking with him anymore. He says the minister is sick and couldn't even make it to work today. Ga-ee asks what's wrong with him. Her brother casually replies that the minister's parents live abroad and that he's an only child, so no one can take care of him. He adds that the flu going around is worrying, but he doesn't care too much. It's just the flu, and healthy people don't die from it. Ga-ee is surprised by her brother's careless attitude. How can he talk like that about someone who's helped him so much? She sits on her bed, debating whether she should text him to check how he's doing. It's been over an hour, and she still hasn't sent the message. After a while, tired of thinking it over, she finally decides to just send it, and quickly turns away from her phone, muttering that she doesn't care if he reads it or not. Soon, her phone buzzes. She picks it up, wondering if he's already read the message. What if he's really sick? Maybe she should call him right away. She tries to call, but her fingers seem faster than her brain, and it starts ringing. Panicking, she mutters that she's not ready for this. Someone answers the phone, and she wonders who it is. She introduces herself as the sister of one of his workers and says she heard he's sick and just wanted to check on him. The words sound strange coming out of her mouth. The person asks for her name, and she shyly says chemistry. Embarrassed, she hears him repeat the name to make sure he heard it right. Then she hears the minister's voice asking if it's Ga-ee. She recognizes it immediately. He asks if she's calling because she knows he's sick and if she wants him to die before she can visit. His voice sounds husky, maybe because he's in pain. She asks if he needs anything, and he jokingly calls her a flirty girl. She tells him she's going to hang up because he sounds fine now, but he insists she doesn't, saying he needs her to do something for him. She asks what it is, and he says she should come take care of him so he'll get better and be able to sleep well. As she gets ready, she grabs a brush, eyeliner, cleansing wipes, moisturizing cream, essence, and her contact lenses. She packs some pajamas and a few changes of clothes, thinking about underwear, but wonders if it's too much. She decides to take it just in case. After checking herself in the mirror, she admits her outfit is perfect. She quickly texts Lee to say she's going to stay at Joey's house tonight because she's afraid to be alone because of the typhoon. Her friend greets her, and she asks what's wrong. Lee replies that she's staying at her house too, and jokes that the day has finally come when Ga-ee is using her as an excuse to meet her lover. Ga-ee smiles and admits that she's grown up. She asks for Lee's help, and Lee reassures her there's no need to worry and that she should just do what she wants. As Ga-ee approaches the building, she's surprised and wonders to herself if he really lives here. She decides to add abalone to the porridge. She asks for his room number, and he responds that he doesn't live here. She's confused and asks if he's a guest, then questions which room he's in. She wonders if this is the right entrance. He calls her name, and she immediately looks up. He comments that she really came. She asks why he's waiting outside in the rain, mentioning that he's sick, then notices how haggard he looks. At the table, she exclaims that the place looks like a scene from a drama. He tells her to sit down, and she informs him that she brought some porridge. He says she's welcome to just come by anytime, and asks if she's been vaccinated against the flu. She confirms and tells him not to worry. She feels his forehead, commenting that his fever is really high, and asks if he's taken any fever medicine. He says he has it, and she tells him to take it quickly. He asks if she'll eat, and she tells him she's fine and not hungry. He offers to make chicken soup for her, but she declines, asking what a sick person can do. He reassures her that he'll make it quickly and that he even made it for himself yesterday. She insists that she's not hungry, and he doesn't need to bother. She wonders aloud if she should set the table and prepare a bowl, but he tells her to sit quietly and not disturb the small space. She jokingly says she's too much of a nuisance. He asks if she's staying, and she confirms. He tells her just to sit and relax because it's easier for him to do it himself. She stays quiet and lets him handle it, feeling sorry for him, but noticing he looks content. She reflects that he's rich, handsome, and perfect in every way, but that he hates being alone. After the meal, she decides to wash the dishes and suggests that he give her a tour of the house when she's done. He declines, saying it's not necessary, and tells her to leave it because she's a guest. She insists that they should clean up, but he tells her to let it go, saying someone will clean it later. Before she can say anything else, he interrupts, telling her to come with him so he can show her around. She's amazed by the view of the Han River and notes that his house has a gym, a bathroom bigger than their master bedroom, and it's all marble. The closet looks like something out of a store display, and she wonders if only celebrities live like this. She comments that he really has everything, but he downplays it, saying it's nothing special. She can't help but think he's kidding. He suggests that she pick out some pajamas from his closet, telling her she can wear whatever she likes. However, she finds the clothes plain and without any cute patterns. Not wanting to tell him she brought her own pajamas, she says he seems like a plutocrat. He laughs and says it's not true, though his grandfather bought the clothes. She picks something to wear, but tells him not to laugh, joking that his underwear is the only thing that fits. She wonders what else she's supposed to do. He asks her to take out her contact lenses, thinking they must be uncomfortable. She notices he's taken off his top and wonders if things have started yet. She suggests they get to the reason he called her there. He tells her he's just teasing, but that's not the real reason he invited her. She asks him directly why he called her, and he questions why she's assuming it's just for his body. She replies that everyone might think that after what she said about putting him to sleep, and that the way he took off his clothes made her misunderstand. He asks if that's the only reason she came, and she says no, but it's part of their agreement, and they still have 2 more times left. He explains that he took off his shirt because it was hot, but if she wants, he'll keep going. She pushes him back, saying she doesn't want to and that she misunderstood. Since he's sick, he shouldn't push himself. She then says she'll act like a guest for now, but asks again why he called her. Was it because he felt sick and lonely? He gets close to her and mutters, "Are you afraid?" She notices his voice sounds weak. He admits he's afraid of the storm and says his body feels like a heat source. Despite taking fever reducers, she notices that he's still burning up. She decides to bring him a wet towel, but he tells her it's not necessary and to stay away from him. She insists that he's so hot and needs help. She explains that wiping his body with a wet towel could make him feel better. He brushes it off and says she doesn't need to act like his babysitter. She tells him that as a patient, he needs to be cared for, and wonders why he's acting this way. He stays silent for a moment, then reaches for her, pulling her close. She asks what he's doing and questions if he still has the strength to do that even though he's sick. He laughs and asks if she's wearing glasses. She admits her eyesight is bad and that she can't wear contacts every day. She wakes up to a pleasant fragrance and walks into the dining room, surprised to find him there. He tells her he warmed up the porridge and suggests they have breakfast. She questions why a sick person would do this, then asks if his fever has gone down. He reassures her not to worry, saying he only prepares food that's ready to eat. And she thanks him for the meal. She casually mentions he's good at cooking, and he adds that he can wash clothes too. She asks what he can't do, and he explains that after living alone for so long, he's learned the basics of survival. She notices that his shirt smells really good, and it's not a common scent. She feels like she's smelled it before. She remembers the night he told her he was like a windmill and recalls that the scent was the same when they first met. Curious, she asks what perfume he uses, and he says his cousin gave it to him. It's a brand she recognizes, Season Series, a perfume brand she's familiar with. She wonders if he's really his cousin and recalls visiting its offline stores because the brand was launched by a senior from her school. She comments on how small the world is, with her senior being his cousin. He's surprised, asking if that person is really her senior, mentioning that his cousin is only 28. Then he asks how old she is. They get in the car, and it's the first time she's ever ridden in such an expensive foreign car. He suggests they match her glasses first, then asks if there's really only one more time left. She stays silent, and he adds that if she keeps creating boundaries because of her brother, she doesn't need to worry. He'll be moving to another place in a few months. She asks if he's trying to show off now, and he says he just wanted to say that. She explains it's not just because of her brother, but since childhood, thanks to her smart brother, she grew up hearing constant nagging. She adds that her biggest goal is to get a job and escape the competition. He asks what she means by competition and tells her that she's improved a lot. He says she's stronger, more careful, honest, and even better at observing things than her brother. She takes it as a compliment, but quietly thinks to herself that he probably said that because he hasn't really gotten to know her yet. She also realizes he's a detailed person. She remembers when he told her to take off her lenses because they must be uncomfortable, and noticed he took off his shirt. She wonders if her brother has ever mentioned her or the lenses to him, and what else he meant by observation. He picks up a pair of glasses and says it seems like these look better. She tells him she usually wears plastic frames, but he insists the silver frame is better. The man at the counter asks what they want, and she tells him to give her both pairs. She asks the price, and when he tells her, she pauses, saying it's too expensive and asks him to wait. She soon gets a message from her brother, saying their mom just sent pancakes and satay, so she should come home for dinner. She tells him she has to leave right away because her brother is nagging her to come home. He agrees to drive her. When they arrive at her place, she thanks him and says she'll see him later. He suddenly remembers something and asks her how old she is. Smiling, she says she's 20. He asks if she means 20 exactly. She confirms and then asks how old he is. He responds that he's 30. She's surprised, and he points out that he's 10 years older than her. He asks if she just graduated from college, and she affirms. He laughs, saying that's why she was too afraid to ask his age. He adds that even when everything is going well, there's always something that doesn't work out, and that's usually what causes a breakup. She then remarks that if there's a 10-year difference, things would be a bit tricky. He admits he thought the age gap would only be 5 or 6 years. He wonders what he's doing with someone who just graduated high school. In his mind, he tells himself that being an adult means he can make the right decisions. He then says he's going to end things, telling her she doesn't need to worry about him anymore. Her brother won't find out about this, and there won't be a third night. He says she should just keep working hard and let him handle his feelings on his own. She asks why things are suddenly like this. She knows it's not totally unexpected, but she wonders if it'll really end this way. She calls out to him as he walks away, but he doesn't respond. She thinks about their age difference, and before she even realizes it, he's gone. A week later, she wonders if it's really over. She recalls his words about ending things, telling her there was nothing she needed to worry about anymore. Was he serious? The age difference, 10 years, had her hesitating, feeling adrift. It was her first experience with someone 10 years older than her, and someone who was also her brother's boss. It's only natural to panic, she thinks. She remembers again that he said there would be no third night, and that she just needed to focus on working hard. How could he be so decisive? She recalls how he had held her so tightly, so warmly in that room. Her brother opens the door, announcing that the chicken soup is here. He tells her to come out, but then notices her swollen face. He pauses, questioning what happened. She thinks about the chicken soup and feels the tears start to fall. Her brother asks if the soup is so delicious it's making her cry, and jokes that he'll buy it often until she gets a job, so she should stop crying. She assures him it's okay, but that she needs to get a job so she can buy it herself. He says it's up to her whether she eats or not, but comments that she seems to be under a lot of pressure. He mentions that the minister has been acting strangely lately. She immediately asks what's going on. He explains that the minister has just been staring off into space and sighing like something is bothering him. He adds that he might try to gather the employees for drinks soon. She wonders if it's because of her, but her brother jokes that, as expected, friendships between men are forged over drinks. She asks him if he plans to go drinking, and he replies that his schedule is empty tomorrow. She pushes him away, telling him to hurry up and get some sleep. He questions why, and she tells him it's because he'll be drinking all night and then going to work tomorrow. He shouldn't feel depressed, so he should sleep now. Later, she wonders why he isn't home yet at this hour. She figures he must have gone out drinking. When he finally arrives, she rushes to the door to meet him. She asks about the minister, and her brother mentions that he was there earlier. As she looks around, she catches a faint scent of perfume. She recognizes it. He comes and goes quickly, avoiding her, and she misses him. Her brother announces that he's home, throws a casual insult her way, and adds that he brought something delicious. She barely notices, her focus fixed on a photograph she had taken. She mutters softly, saying she only took that photo to leave behind a dark memory, but now it's all she has left of him. Her eyes linger on his stiff, awkward expression, and she thinks about how difficult it must have been for him to bring her brother there. She scoffs bitterly, questioning who he thought he'd scare with that face. She curses him under her breath, frustration and sadness mingling as memories flood in. Snippets of their conversations, fragments of their time together, moments that felt so fleeting yet so profound. Tears well up as she whispers brokenly that he once said he liked her. Our female lead slams her hand on the table so hard that nearby cups tremble. With a deep, dramatic sigh, she wipes away a tear and blames everything on her hormones, because obviously they've declared war on her sanity this week. She clutches her chest like she's in a tragic drama, lamenting over the mere thought of our male lead not being in her life. The irony? They're not even dating. They've barely known each other long enough to memorize each other's coffee orders. Yet here she is, convinced she physically cannot go on without him. Her emotions are on a roller coaster with no seatbelt. One minute she's angry, the next she's near tears. Her friend watches this unravel like it's live theater, eventually pulling her into a half-hearted hug. With a sigh, she reminds her that getting out of a relationship is the hard part, not desperately trying to dive headfirst back into one, especially not with Seo Do-hyun. If anything, she wonders how this strange dynamic hasn't done enough damage already. Our girl stiffens. She stands up, searching for a comeback, but words fail her. There's nothing to say. Instead, she just stares, lips parted slightly, as if an answer might magically appear. Silence stretches between them. Somewhere in the distance, a dramatic gust of wind probably blows past the window for effect. Our female lead sinks into her seat with the weight of 1,000 emotions and declares, with all the seriousness of a courtroom witness, that she doesn't want to be hurt anymore. She's convinced she's come to the right person for guidance, like her friend is some kind of love guru with all the answers. Her friend leans back, arms crossed, and tells her to really think about how much she's changed since their first year. The words strike a nerve, drilling straight into her heart. But if she's going down, our girl's taking her friend with her. Without missing a beat, she reminds her of that one time she cried, actual full-on sobbed, because Park Jun-soo dumped her. At the mention of his name, her friend bursts into uncontrollable laughter, the kind that makes people question if she's okay. Oh, she remembers. She was absolutely roasted for shedding tears over a guy right in the middle of their exams. Our female lead crosses her arms and huffs, saying she only called it out because she was furious. Furious that her own friend had the audacity to cry that much over someone like Park Jun-soo. Of all people. It wasn't heartbreak. It was a betrayal of common sense. The two girls weren't exactly destined to be best friends from the start. Their friendship had a rather unconventional origin. It all began with a breakup. That fateful day, exams for the day had just wrapped up, and our female lead was laser-focused on her grades, practically living in her own academic bubble. Socializing? Overrated. Dating? Absolutely not. She had built an impenetrable wall of "I don't care" around herself until she stumbled upon the tragic sight of Kim Joo-hee sobbing like a heartbroken K-drama protagonist on a bench. Something about the sheer intensity of the wailing made it impossible to ignore. So with the grace of someone who definitely doesn't know how to handle these situations, she approached. Without asking too many questions, she pulled out a crisp white handkerchief, like a refined noblewoman, and handed it over. Joo-hee sniffled, barely able to get the words out. Her boyfriend had cheated on her, and she was absolutely shattered. A normal person might have offered comforting words or a shoulder to cry on. Not our girl. Instead, she tilted her head and, in complete seriousness, suggested something groundbreaking. Maybe you should study instead. Joo-hee blinked through her tears. Our female lead, completely unfazed, explained her logic. If Joo-hee threw herself into her studies with enough intensity, she wouldn't have time to dwell on heartbreak. In fact, acing her exams would be the ultimate revenge. Was it a ridiculous theory? Absolutely. But there was a strange brilliance in the idea of turning romantic devastation into academic domination. Some might cry, some might plot revenge. Our girl? She weaponized rage for good. A dreamy look washes over Kim Joo-hee's tear-streaked face. She squints at the female lead like she's some kind of eccentric philosopher. "You're such a strange person," she murmurs, half in awe, half in confusion. Who even thinks like this? Before she can dwell on it too long, the female lead fires off a question that stops Joo-hee in her tracks. "So you're okay with getting dumped and ruining your grades too?" The words hit like a wake-up call. Instead of letting heartbreak drag her down, wouldn't it be better to work hard and at least outshine Park Jun-soo? That way, when she inevitably runs into him again, she won't be the one embarrassed. Joo-hee stares, her mind racing. Maybe this bespectacled, overly confident girl isn't completely off her rocker. The logic is weirdly sound. She rolls the idea around in her head, and before she knows it, she's already standing. "Wait, are you saying you'll help me study?" She hesitates, then drops the real bomb. She's on the verge of academic probation. Her grades aren't just bad, they're a disaster. If passing the next exams were a video game, she'd already used up all her extra lives. The female lead doesn't flinch. If anything, she looks even more determined. Then we'll just figure it out, she says, like it's the simplest thing in the world. No hesitation, no doubt, just pure, unshakable confidence. Hope sparks in Joo-hee's eyes, like she's just discovered a life hack no one else knows about. She grips our female lead's shoulders, declaring that she's officially giving this crazy theory a shot. Forget Park Jun-soo. Her new mission in life is to get a better job than him, a petty yet deeply satisfying goal. But there's a catch. If her grades improve, she's making it her personal duty to give our girl a makeover, a full transformation. No negotiations. And just like that, the first ever deal between them is sealed. From that moment on, the two grow inseparable, their odd friendship solidified by heartbreak and ambitious revenge. True to her word, Joo-hee takes her makeover duties very seriously. First order of business? The glasses have to go. The second they come off, Joo-hee gasps like she's witnessing a plot twist in real time. Wait, you've been hiding these eyes behind those frames this whole time? She shakes her head, almost offended. This isn't just a glow-up, it's a public service. With laser focus, she applies layer after layer of makeup, treating the female lead's face like a masterpiece in progress. As she works, she throws in an idea. They should celebrate finishing their tests by picking out contact lenses together. Finally, she steps back to admire her work. With dramatic flair, she spins the female lead toward the mirror. Okay, she says, grinning. Prepare to meet the upgraded version of yourself. Joo-hee steps back, arms crossed, nodding in approval. You've been hiding this gorgeous face behind those massive glasses instead of lenses? Criminal behavior. Our female lead stares at her reflection, tilting her head as if meeting herself for the first time. And well, she can't even argue. The view staring back at her is undeniably stunning. She never really thought about how much a little grooming could change her whole look. Growing up, she never paid attention to things like makeup or fashion. Competing with her older brother took up too much of her time. He was her biggest rival, the one person she always had to outdo. Not that it ever worked. He had a way of always staying ahead. He's that guy. The one who walks into a room and somehow becomes the main character. Reliable, smart, effortlessly impressive. The pride of their parents. He wasn't just good at school. He was great at it, topping it off with a top-tier job that made their family practically worship him. He's got the looks, the personality, and the perfect grades to match. It's frustrating, really. At his graduation, their dad doesn't just praise Lee Ga-jun. He practically writes a full novel about how amazing he is, right in front of Gae. Every sentence feels like a personal attack, a reminder that her brother is him, the golden child, the family's pride, the one who can do no wrong. But the worst part? Ga-jun, in all his frustrating perfection, doesn't bask in it. Instead, he turns to their dad and gently says, "Don't put too much pressure on Gae, like he's trying to look out for her, like he's being nice." Gae doesn't appreciate the gesture. In fact, she hates it. The more he tries to be this kind, supportive older brother, the more she resents him. Why does he have to be good at everything, including being a decent human being? It's infuriating. That day, something shifts in her. If she can't escape his shadow, she'll outgrow it. His perfection becomes her driving force. Whenever she struggles with her studies, she reminds herself just how dumb she is compared to her genius of a brother. The thought stings, but it fuels her. Ga-jun, of course, never stops encouraging her, which only makes things worse. When she wants to quit, she hears his voice telling her she can do better. And somehow, after staring at the same page for the 50th time, things start making sense. Her emotions are a whole circus. Anger morphs into sadness, sadness turns into motivation, and motivation fuels her to try again. It's a relentless cycle. But one thing is certain, she's not giving up. Not when Ga-jun exists as a constant reminder of what could be possible. In the next scene, Kim Joo-hee leans in, eyes gleaming with mischief. "How about a blind date?" she suggests, her tone far too enthusiastic for Gae's liking. The guy in question? Go Jamon, 26, future cop. The age gap is reasonable, and apparently he's got the face and physique to match. Joo-hee paints the picture like she's advertising a luxury car, sleek, reliable, and built to impress. Gae doesn't bite. She stays perfectly composed, unimpressed by the sales pitch. Joo-hee, on the other hand, is personally offended. She throws up her hands, exasperated. Do you want to stay stuck on the same guy forever? The best way to get over a man is to meet a new one. Gay remains cool, refusing to engage in whatever rom-com logic her friend is peddling. Jo-hee isn't having it. She leans in closer, voice dripping with persuasion. Just think about it. You never expected to fall for your one-night stand, right? The words land like a perfectly aimed dart. Gay tenses, the remark hitting a nerve she wasn't ready to acknowledge. Sensing the shift, Jo-hee doubles down. Just give it a shot. No expectations. Who knows? You might meet your soulmate. It's a stretch, but the possibility hangs in the air. Gay sighs, mulling it over. Maybe. Just maybe. Kim Jo-hee grabs her bag, ready to leave, but not without dropping one last bombshell. Oh, by the way, she says casually, my boyfriend was actually the one who suggested setting you up with Jamon. Apparently, the guy really likes you. Gay's curiosity sparks instantly. She raises a brow. Wait, did he say he knew me before this? Jo-hee smirks, already anticipating the confusion. Think back to last year, the startup club. Gay squints, searching her memory, but nothing significant comes to mind. It's a blur. Alcohol may or may not have been involved. Actually, a lot of alcohol. Not her finest moment, especially since she's not even much of a drinker. She straightens up, brushing off the thought. That won't happen again, she assures, as if convincing herself more than Jo-hee. With that, the two ladies head out, one still amused and the other still mildly suspicious. Talking about last year's party feels like opening a time capsule filled with pure chaos. It wasn't just their club members, even seniors who wanted nothing to do with the event somehow showed up. Not that it mattered. They got caught in the end. That night was a spectacle. A showdown. The kind of party that left a mark on history. So many drunken stories were lost to the night. But a few moments still stand out. Like Young, who in his questionable wisdom nearly took a midnight dive into the sea. Thankfully, he wasn't alone. His friends yanked him back before he could make a life-altering mistake. Then there was the great chain reaction. One guy threw up and like clockwork, another followed. It was a mess, a legendary mess. Crazy times. Now, things are way different. Instead of wild parties, Gay and Jo-hee sit on a park bench, ice cream in hand, engaged in a much calmer conversation. No crowds, no chaos, just two friends enjoying a peaceful moment that feels like a completely different lifetime. Gay sighs, eyes distant. I can't forget that handsome man I saw that night. It felt like a dream. Jo-hee raises an eyebrow, a smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. You're sure about that? Because you were really drunk, you know. Gay frowns, still lost in the memory. But did that oppa help me that night? Jo-hee shrugs, clearly not all that concerned with the details of Gay's blurry past. Honestly, I wasn't keeping an eye on you, but I did see that young man carrying you when you disappeared in the middle of the show. She leans in with a mischievous grin. Why don't you ask him if he's the handsome guy from your dreams? The thought unsettles Gay. She frowns, not quite sold on the idea. It's possible, sure, but something about it doesn't feel right. If he was really that memorable, she thinks I would have remembered by now. Despite her hesitation, Jo-hee pushes on with her blind date proposal. As she gets up to leave, she casually mentions that she'll send Jamon's picture, hoping that Gay will warm up to the idea. Gay stands firm, still not convinced. I'm not ready for a blind date right now. Jo-hee chuckles as she walks away. We'll see about that. Gay's phone pings, breaking the silence, and she pulls it out to check the new message from Jo-hee. The photo that pops up catches her attention almost immediately. There's something about it, the tattoo on his wrist. She enlarges the image, squinting to make sure her eyes aren't playing tricks on her. And then, boom. It's familiar. Too familiar. Her eyes widen in shock. No way. The guy she's about to meet on a blind date just so happens to have the same tattoo she saw on the guy from her one-night stand? What are the chances of that happening? The two sit down at a table, and Gay, still processing, turns to him with a grin. She thanks him for helping her the other night, mentioning that Jo-hee filled her in on his heroic deeds. He takes the compliment smoothly, looking pretty pleased with himself. But then Gay can't help herself. She points to his wrist. That tattoo, it's kind of peculiar. He looks at it a little confused at first, then shrugs with a laugh. It's probably just a coincidence. I never even wanted a tattoo before, but one day I woke up and it just felt like destiny. so I went ahead and got it. Gay stares at him in disbelief as he flashes that cheerful smile. Crazy, right? He adds, as if the universe just works in mysterious ways. She pulls out her phone to show him the app image, the exact same tattoo staring back at them. He just laughs again, as if this whole thing isn't the wildest coincidence ever. Gay is completely thrown off. The whole situation makes no sense. The windmill from before vanished without a word, and now here's this guy sitting across from her with the exact same tattoo, acting like he has no clue what she's talking about. It's like the universe is playing some sort of game with her, and she's definitely not winning. She stares at him, trying to connect the dots, but it's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. The tattoo, the one-night stand, the blind date. The chances of all this happening feel way too high for comfort. Gay sinks into her thoughts, completely lost. Nothing adds up. Gay has never been particularly interested in or involved with the opposite sex, at least not until after graduation. Her world is peaceful, untouched by romantic entanglements, until curiosity knocks on her door, or, more accurately, sneaks onto her brother's laptop while he's away in the military. One fateful afternoon, she stumbles upon a video that is most definitely not part of his training materials. Just as she starts watching, her mother's voice booms from the hallway, making her jump so high she nearly achieves liftoff. Shutting the laptop with the reflexes of a ninja, she tries to act normal, but the damage is done. A tiny seed of curiosity has been planted, and like an overwatered houseplant, it grows at an alarming rate. Later, with no one around to interrupt her educational research, Gay revisits what she saw. One video turns into 2, then 3, and before she knows it, she's fallen into a rabbit hole deeper than she ever intended. Enter Joo-hee, the human embodiment of a bad influence, wrapped in a charmingly reckless personality. Her friend has zero filters and an enthusiasm for certain topics that would make even the boldest people blush. When Gay hesitantly brings up her newfound curiosity, Joo-hee's reaction is nothing short of scandalous. She practically cackles at our girl's innocence, treating it like the funniest joke she's heard all year. Gay, flustered beyond belief, tries to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Joo-hee is relentless. She leans in, eyes twinkling with mischief, and starts whispering about her latest camp adventure with a level of detail that makes our female lead want to disappear into thin air. Desperate to maintain whatever dignity she has left, she covers her ears and hums loudly, but her friend is nothing if not persistent. "Oh, come on," Joo-hee teases, nudging her. "It's like skipping to the last page of a mystery novel. Once you know, you know." Our female lead isn't sure if that's supposed to be comforting or concerning. One thing is certain. Her peaceful, uncomplicated life is officially over. Joo-hee says something that plants itself firmly in Guy's mind, refusing to budge. With a smirk and a knowing look, she mentions how the feeling of such an experience changes depending on the location. The words strike a chord, echoing in our girl's thoughts like a song she can't get out of her head. It's strange. She doesn't actually want to hear about her friend's adventure at this very moment. No, she craves something else. Suspense, mystery, like a slow-burn romance novel where the tension builds just right before anything actually happens. She wants the anticipation. Of course, curiosity is a beast that refuses to be ignored, and later, when she's finally alone, she does what any self-respecting, inquisitive person would do. She takes to the internet, fingers hesitating only for a second before typing in the unfamiliar term, one-night stand. The results flash across her screen, and she reads with the intensity of a scholar studying for the biggest exam of their life. Except this isn't for school, and there's definitely no grading curve. As she scrolls, something stirs within her. A thought, a question, a realization. Why should she have to wait? Who made these rules about saving oneself for some man in the future? The very idea of it suddenly irritates her beyond belief. She huffs, crossing her arms, glaring at the screen like it personally offended her. The curiosity inside her has grown into a wildfire, and she's not sure she can or even wants to put it out. Gay grabs her phone with a sense of determination that would make a detective proud. She navigates her way to an online app designed for exactly the kind of situation she's looking for. Something quick, simple, and, most importantly, a first-hand experience. Filling out a few basic details, she barely has time to process what she's doing before. Ding. A match. That was fast, almost too fast. Is there some kind of express lane for this? Her heart races as she watches her screen, anticipation bubbling up inside her. And now here she is, sitting across from Mr. Go Jamon himself. The atmosphere hums with the kind of energy found in a scene where the main character is about to make a very interesting decision. They engage in small talk, but Jamon doesn't beat around the bush. He studies her with amusement, mentioning that he's seen her before, back at the MT. His words spark recognition. He recalls her drunken, flushed face and casually throws in a compliment, saying she was really pretty even then. Guy blinks. Drunken face? That phrase lingers in her mind like an unfinished puzzle. And then it clicks. This guy is him. The Windmill. Go Jamon, the 26-year-old. She watches as he leans back slightly, his expression unreadable, but there's something about his confidence that's almost unnerving. There's no hesitation, no awkwardness, just a sly look that suggests he knows exactly what he's doing. Gay, on the other hand, suddenly feels like she's stepped onto a roller coaster without checking the seatbelt first. Anger bubbles up inside our girl as she grips her drink like it's the only thing keeping her from launching it straight at Go Jamon's face. She watches him, analyzing the kind of man he really is, one who says outrageous things with the confidence of a movie heartthrob, but the attitude of a total menace. He's almost her equal in wit, but the difference is he clearly enjoys pushing buttons just for fun. He keeps talking, effortlessly weaving in jokes about how ridiculous their relationship would have been if they had ever ended up together. With a smirk, he dismisses love at first sight like it's the punchline to a joke only he finds funny. He laughs so hard his shoulders shake, completely unaware that Gay is sitting in stone-cold silence, growing more irritated by the second. And then, she snaps. Without hesitation, she lifts her drink and gives Jamon an impromptu cola shower. The liquid splashes onto his face, his shirt, probably even his dignity, leaving him frozen in shock. Before he can recover, she lets him have it, voice sharp with disappointment. She calls him out for sending all those beautifully crafted messages only to turn out to be this, a fraud, a walking disappointment. He stares at her, still processing, probably wondering if this is some kind of hidden camera prank. When he finally manages to ask what that was for, she doesn't hesitate. She raises an eyebrow and throws out a threat, one that makes Go Jamon's smirk falter. If he doesn't shut up, she'll post their entire chat history on the school bulletin board for everyone to see. That gets his attention. The color drains from his face just a little, but before he can respond, she goes for the knockout punch. She calls him a menace to society, questioning how someone like him could be in the force and still expect people to feel safe about the future. By now, their little scene has turned into a full-blown spectacle. People around them stop mid-bite, eyes darting back and forth between them like they're watching the climax of a drama. Go Jamon, still dripping cola, sits there blinking, looking like a man who just watched his entire life flash before his eyes. Gay, meanwhile, straightens her posture, picks up her bag, and walks off like she just finished serving justice on a silver platter. Well, our girl would love to give Go Jamon a cola shower, a verbal smackdown, and maybe even a dramatic exit for good measure. But instead, she just takes a slow, steady sip of her drink, letting the fizzy sweetness try and fail to wash down her irritation. She's beyond pissed, but years of keeping her composure stop her from causing a scene. He notices her zoning out and calls her attention back, his voice cutting through her spiraling thoughts. She jolts back to reality, blinking at him like a student caught daydreaming in class. He keeps talking, words flowing effortlessly, but to her it's all noise. He's saying something, but none of it is making any sense. Her mind drifts again. That night at MT, she was heavily drunk. In her hazy memory, she recalls seeing a handsome man, someone who at the time seemed almost unreal. But alcohol has a funny way of distorting reality, and now, sitting across from Jamon, she isn't feeling it. The spark, the excitement, whatever she thought was there that night, it's just not. She wonders if he was disappointed when he saw her. Maybe he expected something different too, or maybe not. Her thoughts swirl in uncertainty, as cloudy as her memory of that night. One thing is clear, though, whatever fantasy she had built up in her mind is crumbling fast. Finally, Gae speaks. Her voice is calm, but her words are sharp enough to make Jamon pause. She tells him they've met recently, not at the MT like he claims. That throws him off. His confusion is obvious, though he tries to mask it. She doesn't let him sit in uncertainty for long. Casually, she asks if he was at a specific bar on a specific date. That does it. His posture stiffens ever so slightly. His fingers twitch, but he forces himself to stay composed. He tries to play it cool, claiming he was on vacation and just happened to be waiting for a friend at the bar that night. The explanation is weak at best. In reality, it's just more confirmation of what she already knows. Then he does something that makes her irritation spike. He asks if she was there that night, his tone light, almost innocent, as if he truly has no idea she's the very person sitting across from him. That's all Gae needs to hear. She doesn't intend to drag this out any longer. Without another word, she rises from her seat, gathering her things, ready to leave. Before stepping away, she turns to him one last time. Her expression remains composed, but her eyes hold a subtle, unmistakable trace of irritation. And then, with quiet finality, she delivers a single piece of advice. If he's really planning on becoming a police officer, he's going to have to be careful. Because if he doesn't start taking things seriously, his lifestyle is going to get in his way. With that, she walks off, leaving Jamon sitting there, caught somewhere between discomfort and curiosity. Our girl's words throw Jamon into a state of severe confusion. He sits there stunned, as she calmly points out that she's not oblivious to the facts. She sees right through him, and she's not about to let him play innocent. The moment hangs in the air, thick with unspoken tension. The young man looks genuinely rattled, caught off guard in a way that's almost comical. He tries to stop her from leaving, but Gae is not the type to be stopped. Without missing a beat, she turns him down, and just to twist the knife a little deeper, she does it with the brightest, most dazzling smile she can muster. The kind of smile that says, "You tried and you failed." It works like a charm. The moment realization hits him, his expression dims. Utter shame and disappointment settle in his eyes, the weight of being made a complete fool sinking in. Meanwhile, our female lead walks off feeling like she just won a championship match. Victory tastes sweet, and she wears it well. That is, until paranoia creeps in. As she strides confidently away, a tiny voice in her head starts whispering doubts. Did she maybe throw him under the bus a little too hard? She glances back, half expecting him to come storming after her, seeking revenge for the absolute ego demolition she just delivered. But nothing happens. No chase, no dramatic confrontation, just the quiet sound of her own footsteps. Still, the thought lingers. She was really about to have some kind of relationship with that guy? The very idea makes her cringe. Then again, Gae being actually worried? That's debatable. Deep down, she believes she can control the situation no matter what happens. She's got this. Very arrogant, very on brand. Our girl steps outside the building, breathing in the cool air as she mentally pats herself on the back. Fearless. Absolutely fearless. She had walked into an unfamiliar situation, nearly got tangled up with that terrible guy, and somehow managed to slip away without a scratch. For someone with zero experience, she handled it like a pro. But even as she revels in her victory, a different thought creeps in. Luck. That's what saved her. Not skill, not strategy, just sheer dumb luck. And the biggest stroke of luck? Meeting him. Seo Do-hyun. That encounter wasn't a mistake. It wasn't random. It meant something. The thought alone tugs at her chest, and before she knows it, a tear slips down her cheek. She wipes it away quickly, annoyed at herself. But deep down, she knows why. She regrets it. She regrets not speaking up that day, not saying how she really felt. She should have told him. I liked it too. 3 simple words, yet they never left her lips. Now she understands. This must be how Joo-hee felt that day, crying her heart out over her ex on the side of the road, an emotional wreck. Gae always thought Joo-hee was being dramatic, but now she gets it. It's not about logic. It's about the feeling of missing a moment that will never come back. Lost in thought, she arrives at her apartment building, barely paying attention, until she sees someone standing outside. Her steps slow, and for a second, her breath catches. That figure, that posture. Her eyes widen, lighting up in recognition. It's him, Do-hyun. As if sensing her presence, he turns, and the moment their eyes meet, his face mirrors her own surprise. Neither of them expected this. Neither of them knows what happens next. But one thing is certain. This night isn't over yet. Gae and Seo Do-hyun stand face to face, and if awkwardness were a physical object, it would be a giant brick wall between them. She shifts on her feet before finally asking why he's here. His answer is simple. He came to pick up some things from manager Lee. Nothing special. Nothing dramatic, just a normal errand, but as she looks up at him, she realizes he's giving her nothing. His face is unreadable, like he's perfected the art of being emotionally unavailable. She has no clue what's going on in his mind, and it's driving her insane. Just when she thinks the conversation is officially dead, he speaks again, and what he says takes her completely off guard. He mentions her dress, this dress, the one she wore that day. The sincerity in his voice is unexpected, and for a second, she just stares at him. She hadn't even thought about it, but he's right. She is wearing the exact same outfit from when they first met. The fact that he remembers this detail out of everything completely throws her off. Keen sense of observation? Absolutely. Mildly concerning memory skills? Also possible. But mostly, she's just surprised. He still remembers. And that realization alone is enough to make her lose her composure. There's so much she wants to say, but the words refuse to come out. She swallows them down, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Meanwhile, Do-hyun presses the elevator button, the soft ding echoing in the silence. The doors slide open, and without a word, they both step inside. The air between them is thick with unspoken thoughts. He notices her hesitation, and the truth is, he's struggling too. Neither of them know how to bridge this gap, and for a few painfully long seconds, they stand there, wrapped in silence, awkward, unresolved. Ridiculously cinematic. A loud noise shakes the elevator, followed by heavy vibrations, and then, darkness. The electricity cuts off completely. Just like that, Gae and Seo Do-hyun are officially trapped. Wasting no time, Do-hyun pulls out his phone and contacts the building's security office. His voice is calm, efficient, like he's reporting a minor inconvenience rather than being stuck in a metal box several feet above the ground. The security official on the other end pleads for patience, explaining that a technician has been called, but it'll take some time. How long? Seo Do-hyun asks, ever the practical one. The answer isn't great. Maybe an hour, maybe just a few minutes. Nobody really knows. And then, in perfect unplanned synchronization, both Gae and Do-hyun say the exact same thing. I have time. The words echo in the small space, and as soon as they register what just happened, an awkward silence follows. It happened too fast, too naturally. Neither of them meant for it to sound so comfortable. The security official, unaware of the sudden tension inside the elevator, assures our male lead that the issue will be resolved soon. He nods, then turns his attention to our girl. In a reassuring tone, he tells her not to be afraid and reminds her that help is on the way. She scoffs. Afraid? Not a chance. She looks at him and says, "Why would I be? You're here." The words slip out casually, but the weight of them lingers in the air. Even she isn't sure why she said it like that. Thinking practically, she reaches for her phone to turn on her flashlight, but before she can, Do-hyun gently suggests that they hold off. Better to save their batteries, just in case. She pauses, considers it, then nods in agreement. And just like that, they settle into the dim, enclosed space. Two people stuck together in more ways than one. Gae is starting to get fed up with the substandard quality of their old apartment. The tiny space, the creaky walls, nothing about it feels right anymore. And now, stuck in this elevator with Seo Do-hyun, it's as if the universe has pressed pause on her normal routine and pushed her into this weird limbo. The two of them sit in silence, the kind of silence that's almost too quiet, filled only with the hum of their breathing. It's surreal. For Gae, it feels like a dream. She's stuck in an elevator with her brother's boss, her one and only partner from that awkward one-night encounter. He's a guy she met just 2 weeks ago, and yet, here she is, thinking about him as if they've known each other for years. And if that wasn't crazy enough, he's not just any guy. He's a really handsome one, too. The kind of handsome that makes you forget to breathe for a second when you look at him. He has a kind of influence over her that she can't explain. It's subtle, but it's there. As they sit there, each lost in their own thoughts, Gaye notices how close he is. She can hear his breathing. It's steady, calm, almost soothing. His scent, distinct, masculine, fills the small space surrounding her. She's consumed by it. She doesn't know why, but in this moment, sitting on this elevator floor, something about it feels right. Like they're meant to be here together. It's insane, really. Nothing in the universe could stop what they have. She's convinced of that for some reason. And as her mind runs wild with these thoughts, she feels a warmth spread through her chest. Crazy? Definitely. But there's a part of her that's starting to believe in whatever connection she's feeling right now. The air in the elevator is thick with the scent of his perfume, a special mix of bergamot and woody notes that wraps around Guy like a comforting embrace. She can't help but breathe it in deeply, her mind settling into a calm she didn't expect. It's as if the world outside doesn't exist. The scent has this inexplicable effect on her, making her feel relaxed, even in such an awkward situation. She hugs herself, suddenly overwhelmed by the strange, sweet thought that maybe, just maybe, fate had something to do with this. Being stuck in this elevator with him, that was fate. Her cheeks heat up and she realizes just how hard she's blushing in the darkness. No one can see it, but she can feel the warmth spreading over her skin. So Do-hyun notices the way she wraps herself up, her body language shifting. He asks if she's all right, his voice gentle, concerned. Then, without skipping a beat, he offers something that makes Guy's heart race. She could come closer to him if she's scared. Her chest tightens, her heart leaping in her chest at the suggestion. But she stays where she is, forcing herself to stay composed. "I'm fine," she says, almost too quickly. She feels fine because he's here. His presence somehow makes everything feel safer, even though they're stuck in this small, cramped space. Still, it all feels like a dream to Gaye. Something out of a movie. She can't help but ask if he came by to get something from her brother. The question slips out before she has time to think, and the suddenness of it catches Seo Do-hyun off guard. He exhales, a brief pause before he answers. "Assistant Manager Lee has some samples he got from clients. I'm just picking them up for him." Our female lead can't help but wonder, how important are these samples if he had to come all the way here himself on the weekend to get them? Her curiosity is piqued, but before she can voice it, he changes the subject. "So, what were you doing before this?" he asks, his tone casual. "I figured you'd be at home resting on the weekend or something like that." For a moment, Gaye wonders how much he really knows about her life, and how much he's just guessing. She considers answering, but the question stirs something inside her, a feeling she can't quite explain yet. Our girl casually mentions that she went on a blind date, and once again Seo Do-hyun is caught off guard. His eyebrows shoot up in surprise, the flicker of curiosity unmistakable in his eyes. "Who was the lucky date?" he asks, his tone laced with genuine interest. She looks at him with a playful smile, clearly enjoying the mystery, and replies that she actually went with friends. The confusion on his face is evident, but she can see the question lingering there. Who exactly did she go with, and why is she being so mysterious about it? Do-hyun, not one to leave things hanging, presses her further, asking if she was satisfied with the date. Guy's lips curl into a smirk, her voice light but with a hint of mischief as she answers that it was mind-blowingly amazing. She pauses for a moment, letting the words settle, making it clear she's not spilling the whole story just yet. She shifts the conversation, turning the spotlight back on him with a question of her own. Do you remember how we met?" Her tone is casual, but there's a subtle challenge in it, a question that feels almost too personal given the circumstances. Our male lead stares at her, caught off guard by her shift in focus. He looks puzzled, clearly unsure of where she's going with this. Gaye continues, explaining that her date today wasn't actually with a stranger, but with someone she was supposed to meet at that hotel. At first, she wasn't sure who he was, but the moment she noticed the tattoo, everything clicked into place. She watches his reaction carefully, sensing the subtle shift in his demeanor. Do-hyun's face hardens just slightly at the mention of the tattoo, and his expression falters in a way that doesn't go unnoticed by Gaye. It's a look that speaks volumes, something like disappointment or maybe even irritation. He leans forward, his body language suddenly more intense, and his eyes narrow, giving her that familiar, almost villainous gaze. "Are you planning to date that guy?" he asks, the words dripping with a mix of curiosity and something deeper. The way he leans in so close, his voice lowering, sends a shiver through our girl. For a moment, it feels like the whole world outside the elevator has faded away, leaving just the two of them. Gay's heart skips a beat, but she keeps her composure, shaking her head with a quiet laugh. She's not rattled by his question, even if his tone makes her feel like she's in some twisted movie scene. She answers him with certainty. "No, I'm not. If I were going to, I wouldn't have come home so soon, would I?" The words slip out with a playful confidence, and she adds a small wink for extra emphasis, knowing full well how it might mess with his head. Do-hyun seems a bit taken aback by her response, but as the tension clears, his lips curve into a small, genuine smile. It's a rare sight, and for a moment, Gay almost feels like she's won some kind of unspoken game. He lets out a light chuckle, the smile still lingering as he admits, "That guy wasn't a good fit for you." His tone is softer now, almost affectionate, as if he's offering his personal, unfiltered opinion without any agenda. Gay's curiosity is piqued, and she can't help herself. She tilts her head slightly, her expression playful but with a hint of challenge. "How do you know that?" she asks, her voice teasing yet genuinely intrigued. "What makes you so sure?" It's a direct question, one that has a bit of weight to it, and she watches him carefully, wondering if he's going to reveal anything more. There's a part of her, deep down, that wants to know just how much he's really been paying attention, how much he's really thought about her since they met. The thought both excites and unnerves her in equal measure. Apparently, Seo Do-hyun isn't just guessing about Go Jaemin's character, he's seen it firsthand. The look on his face says it all as he casually drops the bomb, telling Gay that he knows exactly what kind of person Jamon is. "I've seen him with my own eyes," he says with a knowing smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes, but his tone leaves no room for doubt. "The guy's scum." Our female lead feels her heart race at his words, and she's practically fidgeting in her seat. She never expected someone to say it so bluntly, especially someone like Do-hyun. "I didn't know he was like that," she admits quietly. "I only realized after seeing the messages, the ones where he sent me those awful words, and then blocked me right after." The memory of his cruel words stings, and she shakes her head, still not quite able to make sense of how she was treated. Do-hyun's expression hardens at her confession, his jaw tightening in anger. "That guy didn't give you a chance to respond," he says, practically seething with rage. "He treated you with no respect." The words come out like a hiss, and Gay can see how deeply it bothers him. She can't help but feel a little relieved. There's something comforting about knowing someone else sees Go Jamon for what he really is. But then the conversation takes a sharp turn. Our male lead's gaze sharpens, and with a certain fearlessness in his eyes, he throws out a question that catches her completely off guard. "Do you really think that was just a one-night stand for you?" he asks, his voice low but intense. "It had to have been more significant for you, right? I'm guessing that's what you're getting at." Our girl feels her cheeks flush at the directness of his words. Her heart skips a beat, and for a moment, she's not sure how to respond. She quickly deflects, her tone defensive as she claims she was set up by Go Jamon. "I didn't plan for it to be like that. He invited me to meet up, but he blocked me right after. What was I supposed to think?" Do-hyun, however, doesn't back down. He's all fire now, his fists clenched and his tone full of frustration. "Why go through with it if you could refuse?" he asks, genuinely perplexed by her choice to even engage with someone like Jamon. The question hits her harder than she expected, and she feels the heat of it settle deep inside her. "What do you really think of me?" Do-hyun asks, his voice taking on a hard edge. He stares at her intently, the weight of his words hanging heavy between them. "I mean no disrespect," he adds, almost in an attempt to soften the blow, but he quickly turns the conversation. "But you shouldn't be anywhere near a person like Go Jamon. Not ever." His voice is filled with conviction, and Gay can't help but feel the truth in his words. But just as she's about to respond, he flashes a sly smile, one that sends a shiver down her spine. "Tell me, though, am I not better than the Windmill guy?" he asks, his eyes glinting with mischief. Gay finds herself on the defensive. Her heart races as she tries to come up with a response, But deep down, she knows there's truth to his words. He's not wrong. Maybe he is better than Go Jamon. After a long pause, she sighs and, with an almost reluctant acceptance, says, I guess you're right. It's true. The truth hangs heavy in the air between them, and Gae can't help but wonder what this admission means for both of them moving forward. Seo Do-hyun leans back with a knowing look, his eyes studying our girl intently, as he brings up something that completely throws her off guard. We didn't meet for the first time at the Baekje Hotel, you know. His words leave her starstruck. What is he talking about? She blinks, trying to piece it all together, but it just doesn't make sense. He continues, adding more confusion to the mix. Did you go to the MT Rookie Club at Chunchu University last summer? Gae's eyes widen as she quickly affirms, Yes, I did. Do-hyun's smile is almost sly now as he reveals something that hits her like a ton of bricks. I was there too, though I only came to pick up my cousin. She ran away from a family gathering scheduled for the same night. The realization hits her like a flash of lightning. Wait, you were at the MT that day? She asks, but before he can answer, memories start rushing back. Her mind starts piecing together the chaotic events of that night. Joo-hee had mentioned just how wild the night was, how the MT wasn't just filled with club members, but seniors who were supposed to be at family events. Not just the club members were in attendance, Joo-hee had said. Some seniors showed up, even though they were caught in the end. Our girl remembers the words clearly now, but it was the part about the senior that really stands out. Do-hyun. He was the one who caught the senior who had tried to sneak away. Gae's mind spins as the pieces fall into place, and in a sudden outburst, she pulls at her hair, her face flushing with frustration. How could I not remember that? She screams. The alcohol from that night clouded her memory, and now it all floods back to her in pieces, like a jigsaw puzzle coming together. At that party, everyone was buzzing about the handsome man who had shown up in an amazing car. They were all talking about him, starstruck by his appearance, and then he dragged off one of the seniors. But this wasn't just any senior. Our female lead's mind races as she connects the dots. The senior he had dragged off was someone important, someone with connections. She remembers now, the senior had made perfumes. At a young age, she had launched her own perfume brand, a truly amazing feat. Do-hyun's presence that night was anything but ordinary, and now it all clicks for Gae. The memory that had been buried under alcohol and time resurfaces in full clarity, leaving her both stunned and amazed. The party stretches on into the night, with the clinking of glasses and the sounds of laughter filling the air. Everyone is getting more and more intoxicated as the hours pass. Our girl, too, is caught up in the drunken haze, her mind swirling with fog from the alcohol. She can barely keep her thoughts straight, her head heavy and her vision blurry. Yet, despite all of that, one thing keeps swirling in her mind. He had been there that night. She couldn't believe it. The very person sitting across from her now, Seo Do-hyun, had actually been at that chaotic party. He had seen her. She blinks, trying to process this new revelation. Where exactly did you see me that night? She asks, her voice a little more slurred than usual, the alcohol still clouding her words. Do-hyun, calm as ever, starts describing the exact spot where he'd come across her. His words are clear, precise, and the more he speaks, the more her mind tries to catch up with the details he's laying out. But as he continues, Gae feels like her brain is struggling to make sense of it all. Her memories are a mess of flashes, bits of the party, snippets of conversations, but nothing concrete. I remember seeing someone that night, she says, her voice unsure, but I can't quite place who it was. It's all a little fuzzy. She frowns, trying to piece the puzzle together. Do-hyun raises an eyebrow at her response, not looking surprised at all. Wasn't it someone from your school? He asks with a slight smirk, clearly intrigued. Gae thinks hard, her mind still swimming in the haze of her drunken memory. All I know is that he was really, really handsome, she admits. Her voice falters slightly as she hesitates. That man, it had to be you, right? Or wasn't it? Her words hang in the air, the uncertainty clear in her voice. She feels her heart skip a beat, her thoughts clouded by the possibility that the man she had noticed that night, the handsome figure who had caught her attention, was sitting right in front of her now. Gae is stunned. Could he really be the guy from back then? No way. That would be too much of a coincidence, or maybe fate just has a flair for drama. Seo Do-hyun watches her intently, urging her to think carefully. She sits in silence, desperately trying to piece together the fragments of that night, but her memory is about as reliable as a phone with 1% battery. Nothing comes to mind. Just when she's about to give up, something clicks. The smoking area. That's where she met the mysterious man. Her eyes narrow as she looks at him. Wait, you smoke? She had no idea. He casually confirms it, like he's discussing the weather. Now that's odd. She's never once seen him with a cigarette. Seo Do-hyun, being the smooth operator he is, explains that he never smokes around her. Why? Because he knows she hates the smell. Gae is caught off guard. How would you know that? She asks, suspicion creeping into her voice. Did they interact that day at the MT? Instead of answering right away, he tilts his head slightly, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Oh, he's enjoying this. Then he leans in ever so slightly and drops the bombshell. Not only did they talk that night, they did something more. Gae barely has time to react before he leans even closer, his breath warm against her ear. With the smoothness of a man who clearly remembers everything, he whispers the truth. We kissed. Her brain short-circuits. System reboot in progress. Gae's eyes light up for a split second, but then boom, she erupts into laughter, the kind that makes people question their life choices. Maniacal, almost villainous. She clutches her stomach, shaking her head like he just told her he's actually a time traveler. Nice try, she says, wiping an imaginary tear. You're messing with me because you know I don't remember that night properly. Seriously, how could she forget someone she had supposedly kissed? If that were true, then maybe she should book a hospital appointment and get her brain checked. Seo Do-hyun, as cool as ever, doesn't flinch. Not even a little. Instead, he leans in again, this time closing the distance just enough to make her slightly uncomfortable, not that she'd ever admit it. Then, with the confidence of a man who holds all the cards, he drops another truth bomb. I even told you that you're fit to wear plastic glasses. That statement grabs her by the throat. She stops breathing for a second. Her mind races at lightning speed, replaying the past like a detective piecing together a case. Slowly, she turns to face him, eyes filled with the kind of disbelief usually reserved for plot twists in mystery dramas. Because now that she thinks about it, she did have a conversation about glasses with Joo-hee a few hours before the MT. Her friend had asked why she was wearing them. The truth, she couldn't find her usual pair, so she had to settle for her old plastic glasses. No way. No way. Her gaze flickers between him and her own thoughts, trying to determine whether he's a master manipulator or if her memory is really that bad. Could he actually be telling the truth, or is he just really good at making her doubt her own reality? Gae turns to him, shaking her head with full confidence. Nope, didn't happen. The idea of them kissing at the MT? Absolutely ridiculous. Seo Do-hyun, however, doesn't argue. Instead, he simply shushes her, raising a finger like a teacher reminding a student to think before speaking. Just try to remember, he says, his voice calm but insistent. Not nice, she blurts out, frustration bubbling inside her. How is she supposed to recall something that just isn't there? With a sigh, she pushes herself to her feet, pacing like a detective working a tough case. It just doesn't add up. How could she possibly forget her first kiss? That's not something people just misplace like a lost sock. Then, suddenly, click, a realization slams into her. If he's telling the truth about the kiss, then that means he recognized her from her first year, didn't he? She spins around, eyes narrowing as she studies him. A new question burns in her mind. Wait, she says slowly, carefully. Did you recognize me when we had our one-night stand at the hotel? Seo Do-hyun leans back slightly, taking his time before answering. Not at first, he admits, watching her reaction. He explains that he didn't figure it out right away. A lot of time had passed since then, and it wasn't exactly easy to recognize someone who had changed so much. Between her heavy makeup, different hairstyles, and new fashion choices, she wasn't the same girl from back then. Not at first glance, anyway. But then, the twist. The big reveal. He looks her in the eye and says he only realized it in the morning, when her face makeup had worn off. Gae stares at him, completely floored. Her entire world tilts for a second. All this time, she thought she was the only one in the dark about that night. Turns out, he had his own moment of shocking realization, too. The elevator is heavy with silence, tension practically bouncing off the walls. Gaye finally breaks it, her voice sharp with curiosity. Why didn't he say anything? Seo Do-hyun shrugs, completely unbothered. Simple. She didn't remember him, so why should he bother bringing it up? His smirk deepens as he points out something even more ironic. Wasn't she the one who wanted her first kiss to be with her boyfriend? Funny how life works. But here's the real kicker. She was actually the one who made the first move that night. Yep, she took his lips first, not the other way around. Gaye's jaw drops. Hold on. What? There's no way. Why would she do that? She was just a random student back then, so what on earth led to that kiss? She demands answers, but Seo Do-hyun tilts his head, thinking for a moment. Then, in the most casual way possible, he drops a bombshell. He doesn't know. Gaye is officially stunned. No explanation, no grand story, no dramatic reasoning. He really just went along with it for no reason. Her brain short-circuits for a moment, trying to process this absurdity. Before she can react properly, he moves in, closer, his lips now just centimeters away from hers. His voice drops, smooth as ever, as he corrects himself. He did do it for a reason. He did it on purpose. Her back hits the elevator wall. No escape. Her heartbeat picks up speed like an over-caffeinated drummer, and she's fully aware of how close he is. He watches her closely, then asks the question that throws her off balance completely. Does she think it's unfair that their kiss at the MT happened? Her thoughts are all over the place, but she still manages to answer. Of course, it's unfair. How is it fair when she doesn't even remember her first kiss? That aside, one thing's for sure. There's no way it was his first kiss. No chance. Not with the way he's acting right now. Seo Do-hyun lifts a hand to her chin, tilting her face up slightly as his gaze locks onto hers. His voice is smooth, teasing, as he questions her assumption. Why is she so sure it wasn't his first kiss? Who said it wasn't? Gaye scoffs, giving him a look that says she's not buying it. Seriously? The idea that he hadn't kissed anyone until he was 33? Yeah, that's a tough sell. He doesn't argue. Doesn't defend himself. He just leans in slightly, watching her reaction with quiet amusement. Details don't matter to him, but there's something else that does. A smirk tugs at his lips as he casually throws out an observation that completely flips the script. Based on what he saw and felt that night, her abilities testified against her. She seemed way too skilled for a so-called first-timer. It just didn't add up. He couldn't imagine that she had never kissed before then. His eyes darken, a mischievous glint flashing through them as he studies her. Slowly, deliberately, he delivers another blow. She can say she had never kissed anyone before him, but the way she moved that night? The way she kissed? Yeah, he's having a hard time believing that. Gaye freezes. Her mind is spinning, scrambling for a response, but all she can focus on is him. His voice, his presence, the way his eyes are practically pinning her in place. The longer she looks at him, the more devastatingly handsome he seems, and the more that fact annoys her. She tries to keep her cool. They are in a public space, for crying out loud, but it's a losing battle. Desperate to regain control, she tells herself to think of anything else, something neutral. Seo Do-hyun's voice is low, almost amused, as he asks what she really thinks he's here to do. Gaye crosses her arms, her suspicion written all over her face. I just think it's interesting that a minister decides to visit his employee's home on the weekend just to pick up materials, she says, raising an eyebrow. Before he can respond, a sudden clatter echoes through the elevator. Someone's phone slips from their grip, hitting the floor with a sharp thud, and just like that, the only source of light vanishes, plunging them into darkness. The lights are out, she states, her voice slightly uneasy. Seo Do-hyun, completely unfazed, only hums in response. What's really sad is that you don't remember your first kiss. His words hit her like a bolt of electricity, her breath catching. Then his voice drops even lower, barely above a whisper. Want me to help you remember? They're already in each other's arms, the space between them practically non-existent. The darkness, the tension, the way his voice wraps around her like silk, her pulse is out of control. Her lips part, and before she can second-guess herself, she breathes out the words, I'd love that. And then their lips collide. The kiss is deep, intense, like an unspoken confession finally being put into action. Her mind whirls with 1,000 thoughts, but a few stand out sharper than the rest. Seo Do-hyun is my brother's boss. He's 10 years older than me. Our worlds are completely different. But none of that matters, because right now, all she can think about is him. How much she likes him. How much she wants him. Their lips move together in perfect sync, as if they've done this 1,000 times before. His touch is firm, confident, overwhelming in the best way possible. Heat coils in her stomach as she feels the intensity of his desire pressing against her skin, but his hands stay respectful, never crossing the line. They kiss again, and again, the moment stretching on endlessly. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a terrifying thought sneaks in. How could I ever live without him? The idea alone feels impossible, unbearable. But right now, in this moment, she doesn't have to think about that, because the only thing that exists is him. Gaye somehow manages to find her voice, though it's a little shaky. There are cameras in the elevator. Surely they're not actually considering doing something here of all places. But instead of immediately stepping back, they both pause, eyes locked, their expressions soft and utterly lost in each other. The silence stretches, filled with nothing but the sound of their own unsteady breathing. A decision settles deep in her heart, firm and unshakable. It's better to die than to fall. That's what she's always believed. But right now, standing here with Seo Do-hyun, falling doesn't seem so terrifying. Even if they go a long time without seeing each other after this, what does it really matter? The life she worked so hard to build, her degrees, her qualifications, the countless sleepless nights spent chasing after a stable future, feels like nothing more than a few sheets of paper. She thought everything was supposed to click into place once she got her dream job. Study hard, get hired at a big company, work her way up, make good money. Simple, right? But now she's realizing she never actually thought beyond that. Then what? Was she just supposed to keep climbing some invisible ladder forever? These thoughts swirl freely in her mind, completely untamed, all while their lips remain locked in a kiss that seems to pull her deeper and deeper under. Did she even like studying in the first place? Had she been passionate about any of it, or had she just been running forward without ever questioning why? What was the point of rushing to secure a prestigious job, working tirelessly to make her life slightly more comfortable than her brother's, if at the end of the day she wasn't with Seo Do-hyun? The things that used to feel so important, her ambitions, her careful planning, her meticulously crafted future, suddenly seem small, insignificant, trivial. That's the kind of effect he has on her, whether she likes it or not. Gaye can't help herself. She likes him. No, scratch that. She likes him so much. It's more than just a passing thought. It's a feeling that's flooding her chest, making her heart race faster than it should. They're still wrapped around each other, lost in the moment, when a loud banging sound shakes the air. The elevator door squeaks open, and they freeze. Two men stand there, blinking at the scene they've just walked into. "Are you two all right?" one of them asks, a mix of concern and confusion in his voice. Without missing a beat, Gaye and Seo Do-hyun spring apart, both quickly assuring them that they're fine. In that instant, it's like they've snapped back to reality, but the lingering tension still hangs in the air. Seo Do-hyun looks at her, his gaze unwavering, and asks if she's really okay. For a brief moment, it's like they're the only two people in the world. The repairmen are still standing there, speechless, just staring at the couple like they've just witnessed something way outside the ordinary. Gaye doesn't break eye contact with him. Instead, she blurts out the question on her mind. Is the third night still valid? She's blushing, but she doesn't shy away from his gaze. Seo Do-hyun raises an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at his lips. You want it to happen here? She hesitates for just a moment before shaking her head. No, she says, her voice quieter now, almost teasing. But you've got a car, right? The words light something in him, sparking a grin that spreads across his face. Oh, this is definitely about to get interesting. Without another word, he grabs her hand, pulling her toward the door. Meanwhile, the elevator repairmen are still standing there, completely dumbfounded. They exchange confused glances, unsure of what they've just witnessed. What were those two talking about? And where on earth are they headed now? What's going to happen next? Looks like we're about to find out. If you're eager for the next chapter, Drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 3. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao!